For this journal entry, I wanted to kind of explore keeping things loose, not having exact lines, exact shadows, and playing with watercolor is the easiest way for me to do that. All I'm doing right now is I'm sketching out an agave. I've taken a couple trips up to Sedona, one with my sister and her children who came to visit, and then my best friend and I, we went up there just to go look around. Neither one had been there before, so I like the spiky nature of the plant and how there's so many shadows to play with. And here I'm just going in with my Koi Noir mechanical pencil. I think it's the 7mm lead, and just sketching out just a really loose sketch. Now comes my favorite part, is using the Elegant Writer. The Elegant Writer is really fun to use with watercolor because it can add in a lot of the deep shadows and a little bit of surprise as far as some of the colors it makes when you add water. When you go in with the Elegant Writer, just put it into your darkest areas and maybe do some light sketching around like you'll see me doing with the spiky leaves on the agave. I'm not really doing any full black because I want to keep the color kind of loose, and I will end up adding more of the Elegant Writer in later on as well. But it just turns out so neat the way it works when you add water. All I'm doing here is basically adding water with my large brush and kind of pulling the color into some of the other shadowed areas. The other benefit of this is once you activate the Elegant Writer with water, it will set. So once you add watercolor on top of it, the color really won't move again. You might get a little bit, but nothing as much as you would, say, using a watercolor. So seeing here, you can see that I'm adding brown and kind of mixing some in, but a lot of that color stays in place, so you're just layering the color on top of the marker. The Elegant Writer also ends up having blues and purples and sometimes pinks. It's kind of a surprise as to how it's going to work. The color palette I used for this was actually pretty simple. I used the darkest brown available in the small kit, as well as one of the blues and the dark foresty sagey green. I do end up going in and using the rust brown as well, but a lot of the fun pinks and purples and stuff come from me adding an Elegant Writer. If you notice here, when I add the marker on top of already wet areas, it kind of does some neat kind of, I don't know, flowy stuff going on. It's really cool. It is one of my favorite toys to play with. Oops, I forgot about that. I do end up going in and grabbing some purple for some of the shadows as well, because they do blend in nice with the marker after it's been activated. I love doing art journal entries like this. I can't emphasize enough how much fun it is just to do something so loose and just let things not be so controlled. The way I sometimes do this is I keep my eyes blurry. I don't know, you know how like you zone out in your daydreaming and everything's blurry? I do that while I'm painting. So I look at my reference image and I just look for the highlights and shadows, and that's how I place my color. I'm not looking for a specific line. I'm just trying to match the hues. And they're so fun to do, and it's a great exercise to use. And even still later on, you could go in and add that detail if you wanted to, because this could be a great starter image or a great finished piece. It's just something fun, something quick, something to get your creative juices flowing. And I love doing these. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is in my homemade journal that I did on hot press fluid 100 watercolor paper. So it is watercolor paper, but it's a smooth finish. I want to apologize again. While I was recording, I just happened to look up and realize that the colors on my screen were not matching the color in my journal. And the way it is now is actually pretty close to the way it looks in my journal. The colors are vibrant, the contrast is a little bit more bold than it looked previously. I absolutely love that this little kit has white. It's not very common in some of the travel kits that I've had before, so this one is actually my favorite travel kit because it does have the white. You can let things dry completely and the white will be very white and opaque, or when things are damp it'll kind of blend in and lighten up some of the areas you place it in, which is what I'm doing here. So this is pretty much it for this whole page. From start to finish, I believe it took me about 20 minutes. It was a fun little page to do, and with the right tools, you can just add so much depth to basically anything. That Speedball pen is awesome. I hope you try it out, and I hope you try the Koi Traveler's Kit. Big hugs and mushy stuff. Mwah!